Hey everybody, we are back with our giant bag of pennies and our penny album. We are at 67 of 140 filled. Let me get this out of the way and I'll show you the album here. So, we got some here in the teens, pretty good amount in the late teens. Got the 20s, a lot of the 40s are done, and then just a few of the 50s. So we will go through another 4 rolls today. I'll pull those out here in a second, and we will see what we get. As each roll goes, I will bring you back in if we find something for the album or at the end for a wrap-up. All right, before we get into the pennies, I just thought I'd show you guys this. Somebody made a button penny. It's a 1954 D, but it's a button. So we'll toss that off to the side. I just filled up the 4 rolls, and I'll move this giant bag of pennies out of the way, and we'll get to these. I'll bring you back when we find something else as neat or better than a button penny. Well, believe it or not, the first one that we actually need for the album is this 1947 D. Unfortunately, it is bent, so we can't use it. But I'll put it there. That's a 1916 D. We already had that one, though. We did find a 1951 D that we'll need for the album. Unfortunately, it's also bent. Here's another one we actually need, 1945 D. Once again, it's a little warped, but I'll probably actually make it fit. Here's the first one that we need that's not bent, 1934 Denver. All right, for the roll 1 wrap-up, we have a 1916 D, 2 1918s, barely make those out. We did get 2 1919s, 1923, 26, 27, 1928 San Francisco, 3 1929s, and then for the finds that we could add to the book, got 1934 Denver, 45 Denver, little bent. I think I'll make that one go in. The 47 Denver is like really bent, so that one's not going to go, so we have to look for one. 51 D, which again, too bent to go in, so we'll have to keep on looking. And then this one doesn't go in, but again, the button coin is always cool. So that's roll 1. We'll get to roll 2 here in just a minute. The first one of roll 2 that we need is a 1929 San Francisco. Not bent. It's not much, but it is another one that we need for the album. 1952 Denver. There we go, 1910. No mint mark, but we don't have that one for the album. I think we might have come across a 1910 before, but we couldn't verify that it was. But we finally have one that's clearly visible. Yay! Well, we have a 1949 Denver, which we actually need for the album, but it is currently stuck to a 1942 Philadelphia. So I will probably run those out underwater, see if I can get them apart. Otherwise, we'll have to toss them aside. All right, we have a roll 2 recap. We have a 1910, a 1916 or 18, I can't tell, so I will toss it into my pile of unknowns. We have a 1917 that got damaged, 4 1919s, 2 1920s, a 29 San Francisco, and then we have that 1949 Denver, which I was able to get apart. Not bad. And a 1952 Denver, and then 2 more that were just either too corroded or too worn to be able to tell. So we have 3 truly miscellaneous today. So the recap for roll 2 is 7 from the teens, including that one that I couldn't quite make out, but I know it's a teen. Only 3 from the 20s, 11 from the 30s, 25 from the 40s, 2 from the 50s, and 2 miscellaneous to bring it to 50 for the roll, normal roll. If you noticed, roll 1 only had 49 because some of those were bent, so they took up more space. So on to roll 3. All right, one of the first things we get in roll 3 is an Indian head scent, but it is super corroded. Let me put it under the scope. Okay, as you see, it is just all the corrosion. Can't tell the date. Yeah, it's really bad. But this was our second or third Indian head scent now. But yeah, no hope on a date here. Well, we went 8 rolls without any 1910s, and now we have 2 within 3 rolls. I'll figure out which one looks better and add it to the album. But a second 1910. I have a 1913D under the scope. It's pretty pitted and corroded, but it is a 1913 Denver, and we do not have that one. That's really cool. Well, we have our first 1909. You see the 190. The 9's worn off, but they only had 1909. It is not an S, and it is not, from what I can tell, the VDB. It could have been worn off, but I doubt it. So 1909. Okay, guys, roll 3 was tough. Had some good finds, but it was tough because we had 10 either really worn or corroded or both scents, not even including the Indian head. So when 20% of your coins you can't tell what they are, that's hard. But we did get a 1909, even though the 9's worn off. We know it's 1909. A 1910, 1913D, which is a very nice find. 16, 17, 18, and 19, a 25, and a 27. So all in all, we got 109, 6 from the teens, 2 from the 20s, 11 from the 30s, 17 from the 40s, 3 from the 50s, 10 that I couldn't tell, and 1 Indian head, which I also couldn't tell. 1 roll left, and then we will add stuff to the album. Okay, roll 4, and our first find for the book here is a 1932 Denver. There was only 11 million minted, I think, so very good find also. Winding down roll 4, and we have a 1956D. It's a little bent. I'm not sure if I'll put it in the album, but it is the first 56 Denver that we have come across. Here's another one we didn't have in the book, 1953 Denver. Only a little bit bent. All right, we finished roll 4. We did get 1 1911. That was the only scent from the teens. We got 3 1927s, really weird bent one, and 2 others. A 1929, 4 that we couldn't identify. They were too worn. We got that 32D, a 53D, and 2 56Ds. I filmed the first one. I didn't film the second one. So we'll probably just put the less bent one, even though it's more scratched up. We'll put that one into the album. So for recap, we got 1 from the teens, 4 from the 20s, 10 from the 30s, 24 from the 40s, 5 from the 50s, 4 that we couldn't identify, for a total of 48. But we had some bent coins this time, so that's why we didn't get 50 out of that last roll. So let me get all the additions into the album, and then I'll go through the upgrades, and we will have a recap. All right, guys, we have our album. We updated 3 and we added 13. So I'll point out the upgrades first. We have the 1946 that was upgraded, the 35, and the 27. They were either really worn or corroded, and these are better. So that's a plus. As far as additions, we have the 1909, the 10, the 13D, if I can find it, there we go, and then 29S, the 32D, the 34D, the 45 Denver, the 47 Denver, the 49 Denver, and then a bunch from the 50s. The 51D, 52D, 53D, and 56D. None of those are particularly the best. I did put the bent ones in there because they should actually be pretty easy to get out. So that brings us to a total of 80 out of 140. We still got a ways to go. There's a bunch in the 50s and 40s that we should be able to easily find, and then still pretty good amount in the 20s and 30s that we shouldn't have too much problem finding. So it shouldn't be too bad to fill up most of this. We still have, probably 20 pounds of pennies to go. Hopefully we can get a bunch of upgrades we need, like that 39 San Francisco and that 54 Denver. Need upgrades pretty desperately, but we will have to look hard for those because this is, once again, a cold penny lot. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. This was episode 3. So not bad for 3 episodes. We have 80 cents in place. And until next time, bye.